A very good afternoon to you from the sports desk. Boxing, like many other sporting codes, took a beating during the COVID-19 pandemic. The current board and management of Boxing South Africa have been fighting tooth and nail to restore the sport to its former glory. For more on this, we are joined by Boxing South Africa CEO Erick Nsikayezwe Sithole. Jobe, good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kwena, and greetings to you and your viewers for Newzroom 405.
Let's start with just the latest. I understand that you had a parliamentary meeting with the portfolio committee on Friday. Just keep us up to speed. What was the meeting about and what came out of it?
The meeting was about the annual report of 2022-2023. So, as a routine with all entities that are reporting to DSAC. So we're part of those entities and we were given the slot of Friday the 7th of November. We went there just to present and table the annual report, our achievements, the finances of the organization, the challenges that we did face in the previous financial year, and the solutions to those challenges, and any matter that we needed to bring to the attention of the portfolio committee. It was a great success. A robust meeting, but it was a success because we were able to give brief to the portfolio committee about the achievements, which are not widely reported in media, but it was an excellent meeting.
I mean, on that, I think on Monday or earlier in the week, we had a chat with the Boxing South Africa spokesperson about this meeting that had to be postponed, the same meeting that had been postponed. And there seemed to be a little bit of unhappiness from Boxing South Africa as to how this matter was reported. And to your point, Jobe, you're talking about that the good is not being spoken about in terms of boxing. Do you feel that there is an issue in terms of how Boxing South Africa is given the spotlight or not given the spotlight for that matter?
Yeah, I think we had a problem with what the City Press reported on the 5th of November 2023. We woke up and the newspaper, it was written that we refused to go to Parliament, which was a lie, something that was not true. We were supposed to go to Parliament, I think around October, towards the end of October, but due to the victory by the Springboks, the portfolio committee requested that we must not come because they were going to go to OR Tambo and welcome the Springboks. So the journalist, I think Malbonga, did not even bother to call us and check why we did not pitch to Parliament and decided to go and write that we refused. And we're going to take some steps against this. He's not the only one. There are some group of individuals that have been constantly targeting the sport of boxing, especially the leadership of boxing, myself, and the other licensees who are doing good. And you have just few individuals who are constantly trying to tarnish the image and also look down upon everything that we've tried, which has brought the sport of boxing where it is today. So, but also we have taken it upon ourselves that on a weekly basis we must issue out our newsletters, which we're going to tell the accurate story to the community of our licensees and other stakeholders who have an interest in boxing. But we are still also engaging other media houses. We are engaging with SABC to ensure that the TKO also talks to our strategy. It must not just be a show that reports things that are different from what Boxing South Africa is doing. The content must always come from Boxing South Africa, and it must be in line with what we have done as BSA leadership to ensure that the sport of boxing is truly gaining momentum in South Africa.
Now, in my introduction, I spoke about how boxing, like other sports, had taken a bit of beating because of the COVID-19 pandemic, where there were very few events that were taking place. And, of course, you would know that this affects the licensees in terms of just making a living. Where would you say boxing is now when you look back at 2023 after the challenges that were faced in 2020, 2021, and maybe 2022 to a certain extent?
Yes. In my report to Parliament on Friday, we reported about that last year we had 86 tournaments in just one financial year. That was a huge boom when it comes to boxing activities in different provinces. And out of those 86 tournaments, we were able to pay around plus or minus 21 million rands in relation to purse money to our boxers. And that says a lot about the sport of boxing. And we were able to host tournaments throughout all provinces in South Africa, which is something that was not happening in the past, but we made it happen. So we then started 2023 based on that baseline. And so far, we're doing very well. I think in the past few weeks, you were in studio with our spokesperson, just deliberating about also the other program that is never been done in boxing. It's the first of its kind, the Rise of Men in Boxing, which we have just implemented around August 2023, which is a program that gives an opportunity to our women. For instance, in our system currently, I said we've got 62 female licensees, and you said we want all of them before the end of the financial year, which is March 2024, to get an opportunity to fight. Because it does happen that, for instance, when you look into our database, in the aggregate number, if I were to correct my numbers correctly, you have 619 boxers registered with BSA, but there are boxers who will complete the year without finding an opportunity to fight because promoters are not staging tournaments. Promoters are not getting funding, so sometimes others are struggling to secure sponsorship. So that's how it's a value chain. There are so many factors that leads to that. But we said, just try working together with the national department. There was a funding that was allocated to different provinces, and we said we're going to use that particular funding to ensure that we spread these, we maximize this opportunity of having the Rise of Men in Boxing series. So we have got 10 series that were planned in 9 provinces. So far, we have done 6, and we have 4 remaining. And I think so far we are doing very well. We've seen new talent. As I said, the purpose was to unearth the new talent, also give other boxers who never got an opportunity to fight, an opportunity to fight. It was just a model, Gwen. We're going to perfect it next year, as I've been saying during the number of media briefings, that it's a model. What we want to see next year around this program of the Rise of Men in Boxing is a situation where you have a prize next to each bout. And we are currently engaging a number of organizations so that you can assist us with that in relation to sponsorships and funding. So that's the first program that we implemented in 2023, which was never there before in boxing.
I want to take you back a little bit, Jobe. You spoke about the national broadcaster coming on board, right? And one of the biggest issues as far as boxing is concerned is the issue of broadcast and broadcast rights. That many are saying that we used to see boxing quite a lot. On Sunday after football, we knew back in the days there was boxing. We knew that there was boxing, on the pay channel, on the national broadcaster, but we are seeing less and less of that. Is that something that you're looking into, and how do you fix that particular problem of broadcasting?
We've fixed that. Last year, around November, same time, we signed an MOU with SABC, which then gave us dates. So in this financial year, for instance, we have 12 days allocated between April 2023 to March 2024. And then in the next financial year, which is 2024-2025, we're going to have 18 dates with SABC. And then in our third year, we're going to have 36 dates. When we came in, there was a problem. I think SABC was around Gauteng, only broadcasting tournaments which were just based in Gauteng. And we said, this is a national broadcaster. It cannot be done like that. We must have SABC in all 9 provinces of South Africa. And everyone who is a BSA registered promoter in good standing must be given an opportunity to stage a tournament on SABC. So far, we have managed to stage 5 tournaments on the national broadcaster. We had 1 tournament in Gauteng, which was staged in April. The second tournament was in Eastern Cape around May. The third tournament was in Limpopo in June. The fourth tournament was in KZN around July. Then the 5th tournament was in Western Cape on August. We have 7 remaining tournaments. We have advertised, we have called our promoters to come and bid for those dates, and we're going to make sure that you see new faces. So the promoters who were successful in the first phase won't be able to stage these tournaments in the second phase and the third phase. We're going to give and track. Because this process this MOU, its purpose is to also share this with all promoters. Must be given an opportunity to stage quality tournaments. But what we are emphasizing, boxing currently, or let me say previously, boxing was not selling. And what we are encouraging our promoters to do when they are staging these tournaments, there must be some a little bit of innovation in what they are doing, so that you will be able to take that package to different companies, especially SAPC, because SAPC needs revenue. Hence why we are having these dates so far. It's a trial and error model. Let's see if we give you 12 dates, you will be able to sell these tournaments, so that even as SAPC, we can attract sponsors. That's where we are. And that will all require our promoters to stage quality tournaments with some little bit of innovation.
Jobe, just picking up on some of the points that you were making earlier on. I mean, you speak about being innovative for boxers, or rather for promoters and maybe broadcasters in that regard. Maybe a topic for another day, but briefly from your point, would this be issues like when we see the likes of Casper Nyovest, Makadzi, and some celebrities, if I can call them that, getting into the boxing ring, which many purists have questioned, but others are saying it's bringing new people. Are those the kind of innovations that you're talking about?
Definitely. For instance, they can do more than that. You can combine music with boxing. You can say boxing goes music. There's a lot you can do. Celebrity boxing is part of those. Last year we saw a big tournament, which was in Northwest, where Casper Nyovest was fighting Nat Music. And that tournament brought a spark in the country. Everyone was watching boxing on that night. Boxing was trending on Twitter. And what we've been telling our promoters, we don't want to stage, especially with SAPC, MOU, we are saying boxing is back. So any company or any leader of any company in the private sector, when they watch boxing, they must be able to see a fully packed arena. No one wants to fight in an arena with just 100 people. So remember, before, you had what you call a traditional base of boxing fans, those who knew Dingan Tobela, Baby Jack Matan. So that generation is gone, is old now. You've got the new generation, the 90s, 2000. So you want to make sure that you capture them again when it comes to boxing, because we are competing with so much entertainment in this country, in Africa and abroad. So what will make them leave a tavern, or what will make them leave a club and go and watch boxing? So you need to make sure that you bring all these elements. It must be about quality, professional boxing, but there must be some entertainment. We saw two beautiful tournaments during the Rise of Women Boxing series. The one that was done in Limpopo, there was so much innovation there, and the arena was fully packed. Same thing applies to the Limpopo tournament. The arena was fully packed. So we're saying our promoters need to look beyond what used to be. You keep, you maintain, and you ensure that professional boxing is there, but be innovative. And I think that's why again, Gwen, this year we have introduced the system, what we call 2023-2024 licensing process system, where we were saying, before you become a licensee of Boxing South Africa, we have to subject you to a process of training and assessment. So we developed manuals. We started with 3 groups: promoters, managers and trainers, and ring officials. We went throughout the country during the period of April and May, training them and also assessing them, which means they had to sit down and write some tests so that we can see if they are knowledgeable about the sport of boxing, and also test some what we call innovation elements. So, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you've got the community of licensees that can produce quality and also be innovative when it comes to the sport of boxing.
Compliance, I mean, speaking of licensees, has been one of the big issues, Jobe, in that regard, that we've seen tournaments being cancelled, either because a promoter did not pay boxers, did not, do the right things, as it were, compliance. Have you looked into that? Because, I mean, if a tournament gets cancelled, look at the boxers, the training that they've done over months to prepare for a fight, and then the next thing, the event is not taking place purely because there was no payment made or promises were not made. How do you solve that issue? Have you looked into it? And in some of these issues that you're talking about, to say all licenses need to be compliant?
I think I've gone through a number of applications that come from our promoters. I would say majority of the tournaments that are cancelled are as a result of promoters failing to secure funding or what you call money that must be used to pay boxers.
The purse
purse monies. And we don't allow tournament to proceed, especially when the tournament is privately funded, which means a promoter is saying, I'm going to pay the boxers. At least if it's government, we can work with commitment because we can recover that from government. But I think where I am finding more painful that I've seen, especially when black promoters are really struggling when it comes to this issue of securing sponsorships. I think most of them, they struggle. If government does not get involved, then you know that there will be no tournaments. And as of that, the 86 tournaments that you had last year, 86, the majority of those tournaments were as a result of government being involved in different provinces. We spent a lot of time last year going to all provinces, trying to build relations with provincial departments so that they can ensure that boxing activities in their provinces do increase. And they had to put a lot of money to ensure that does take place. But when you remove government, when you take away government from boxing, you will have no tournaments. And as a result this year, the tournaments that are being cancelled are as a result of that maybe the promoter is not funded by government or the promoter does not have money to pay boxers.
But where do you think the problem is, Jobe? Is it because we're not selling a good product that sponsors are not coming on board? I mean, even boxing itself hasn't had a sponsor in a very long time. So where do you think the problem is? Is it because that the product is not good enough to be for the sponsors? Or I mean, from your perspective or vantage point, why are sponsors not interested in boxing?
Yeah, there are so many factors, but I will just count maybe two or three. A lot happened in boxing in the past where you had a number of sponsors that were assisting boxing, and then they left boxing, and also boxing left what you call television. There was no boxing over a long time. It was just blackout. Now, when different boards came in, I think they were trying by all their means to resuscitate that. Some tried, but it was not enough. And then we came in 2020. We inherited an organization that was about to collapse, if I may put it that way. And we had to try, using our first year, to do what we call board roadshows and connect with our promoters, connect with our boxers, connect with our managers throughout province and outline what is it going to do to turn around the sport of boxing. I think we did that successfully. Then we implemented it. We adopted the turnaround strategy, which was last year. And we started implementing that from April 2022. Before we could even finish our financial year, which was 2022-23, then we signed this deal with SABC. Already now where we are, you are seeing boxing on television. We started on April 2023, and you're going to see it up until 2027. Now what we're emphasizing that whatever that we are staging on television must be of quality. Remember, when someone is watching SABC, for instance, not even SABC, when you are watching anything on television, if it's good, you want to be associated with it. So that's a key. Anything that is good in life, you want to associate yourself with it. That's the only thing that will make our sponsors, private sector, to say, we want to get involved in this because we have seen the product. So we are currently making sure that the product that we are selling has no spots. And we can only do that by training, developing, and ensuring that whatever that our licenses are doing becomes widely acceptable by everyone in the country, even in Africa itself. But also it goes beyond that. I do believe at some point there needs to be some political intervention when it comes to this. But we'll talk about that on another day.
Yeah, indeed.
The other part is not doing the job, but the other part has to be some political intervention in relation to bringing back sponsorships in boxing.
Jobe, we're out of time, but just a last question from my side, and very briefly, the issue of the board. You said you came in 2020. I know the term of office is coming.
That we've laid out, the turnaround strategy, and anyone who comes in must be able to use this foundation to build where we started and where we ended. We're going to hand over the organization that is currently stable. Even for the first time, you had an issue of the former CEO from 2014, and we are the only board that was able to put this matter at rest. So anytime going forward, maybe before the end of this week, you will see the position of CEO being advertised, because when I make sure that we live in a constitution that is stable, and we put a stability at the helm of this organization, that would be another way of making sure that anyone does have confidence in boxing, because now you have a CEO that is now permanent, not the issue of having acting CEO for 2 years. So it's this board that did that, and many other things.
All right, Jobe, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. That is Boxing South Africa Chief Executive Erick Nsikayezwe Sithole, just talking to us about the state of boxing in South Africa. Still a lot of questions to be answered, and I think a conversation also on this celebrity matches needs to be held extensively.